there were a bunch of particular media sources that I came to know as part of false social environments. And this is really common for survivors in our network. We came into experiences of violence that were happening in communities we thought were safe, and those communities were interacting with certain media, certain podcasts, certain websites, certain professionals, people with content creation leadership roles that were inspiring to the people in our spaces. Except what we discovered was that we were part of a false environment that had certain things on the surface, and other things were going on under the surface. So we thought we were part of the community. This is the case for so many different things, and we're talking about planet waves a lot lately. This is certainly the case with planet waves. We were part of a community that had a gradation at certain edges of people who followed planet waves regularly. I don't know if any of those people were paying for memberships or something like that. But there was enthusiasm and respect. And so those seemed to be environments where we could share Eric's work, for instance. And then we discovered, all in our various ways, and I in mine, that the people we had been trusting and the environments we had been trusting were abusing our trust. And so then, in states of extreme compounding neurological injury and destruction and death, having to completely reevaluate our trust in anything, and also being extremely sensitized to the awareness of being programmed by things. Because when you're taken past certain traumatic thresholds and kept under damage and stress for continuing amounts of time, you can end up getting programmed very easily with very small things that people take for granted all the time. And so not being able to listen to anything because not being able to determine what is safety in regards to that, having those kinds of elements used against us so prolifically. So like, wait a second, like who have we been feeling comfortable with? What do we have to examine? And not having the neurology to do it. So having to stay away, having to try to recover, not being able to reach any kind of safe recovery circumstances. And that endless rotation goes on and on and on for years and decades for many people. And so, for instance, we were part of the Planet Waves community. And then suddenly we weren't, and we couldn't even reach the Planet Waves community. Not knowing why. Always having to examine circumstances in states of neurological compromise. Trying to see, did we miss something? Is it dangerous for us to be reaching out to these people? Are they going to respond aggressively? Planet Waves has never responded aggressively. Always helpfully, but also lots of no response, which is also common with busy organizations that are operating on a tight budget and doing work that they love and have to really focus on. So we don't want to allow trafficking pathways to be active in our community spaces, because this is what happens as a result of it. Those of us who we were and are part of the Planet Waves community. We were and are part of many different spiritual communities, professional communities, health communities. There are all kinds of groups that you would group yourself with if you were safe enough to do so. And if you find you're not safe enough to do so, you don't need to be violently cut off from that thing if we're in contact with one another in ways that help us recognize where people are behaving honorably. And all of this time not being able to fully safely connect with Planet Waves materials, is a really important experience to be having. Because we were always the essence of us that resonated when we came into contact with Planet Wave stuff. And that's a compass that we can use to repair the neurology that got destroyed and co-opted, so that we couldn't tell the difference between good guys and bad guys, and would be easy pickings for opportunistic individuals or operatives. So many things that seem fanciful turn out to be immediate, concrete aspects of our reality. And the brain is so particular about focusing where it's focusing, especially in circumstances of ubiquitous neurotoxicity and endocrine disruptors and systemic and interpersonal trauma. We have had to get ourselves to a point where we could recognize again, through sufficient neurological repair and recovery, that we need not allow huge slices of our lives to be taken away from us. And so wherever Planet Waves couldn't be because of that terrible communications situation, we were still resonating as our local, non-local Planet Waves communities, each person being in whatever situation and location that they're in, with or without other people to talk to about it. There's a really healing, creative multiplicity that can fill spaces where we're experiencing isolation. And when we're true to that, we never necessarily lost anything. And at the same time, how powerful it is to bridge communications that have been prevented. So that those of us who have had past and continuing experiences of being part of a Planet Waves community could strengthen that and build it out and allow it to positively affect more lives of more living beings and interconnect to understand one another better. Have more accurate information more consistently. And prevent ourselves from being tricked into artificial environments with artificial support structures that don't really do anything of the kind. And then have to very dramatically restore all of the relationships that were affected by that and repair all of the broken. I don't need to use more words than that. It can be really beautiful, and we're definitely doing it. The most important part we're fulfilling is the part that is emergent from the source of us. That's another way of building trust.